Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Well, this is a good chance to do a quick review for the VOD's sake. Um,
Okay.
so what did we talk about? We talked about two major things. One is playing better in tournament and why you feel like it's not up to snuff, and the second is not being prepared at majors. And the TLDR for the tournament thing is that I said many people play differently in tournament, regardless of whether it's better or worse. So if people are playing different, you will typically have less practice versus what they're doing, right?
Right.
Does that all make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And remembering that they might actually be doing something different than you're used to, etc. So like you can grind tournaments, you can watch tournament footage, but essentially you can't beat yourself up because you didn't have answers to something you don't have practice against. And our brains are kind of dumb, and it takes us like thousands of friendlies to even be comfortable versus something very basic oftentimes. So yeah, that was the first thing. The second thing was I gave a couple suggestions for sleep. One, curating who you stay with, etc., and your sleeping environment. Two, bringing your own pillow, or doing other similar things that might help you sleep. Pillow is just one example. And then the third thing is just making sure your sleep schedule is set up appropriately, which is not simply limited to waking up early, right? It could be a number of factors that you have to consider for sleeping properly.
Right.
When do you eat? When do you sleep? When do you play relative to when you wake up, etc.? When do you tend to get tired throughout the day? Yeah. So, pretty good TLDR.
Yeah.
Okay, sick. Well, if we're good with that, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. Let's watch some Sheik Falcon. Do you have any thoughts on the set you want to share before we watch it?
Yeah, sure. So this guy plays, I would say, like, there's distinctly two kinds of Falcon players in my region. This guy's kind of like, I don't know. He plays, he can be sometimes a little wacky. Sometimes he picks, like, he's just, like, very fast. Sometimes he's, like, picking weird options. He's in your face. Like, I don't know. He's just, like, I don't know, maybe a much worse version of, like, at least the way he makes me feel when I play him, because none makes me feel this way when I play him. It's, like, just kind of, like, I always just feel like he's going to do some, like, crazy unexpected shit.
Okay.
I don't think he really does it in this set. Actually, in this set, he played unusually, like, chill, but it still kind of has that effect of, like, I don't know. This guy is just going to run at me, like, at any moment.
Yeah.
So I should be careful. That's pretty much my thoughts.
Sure. Any thoughts on the matchup? Either based on how you play it or... anything?
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think sometimes it feels like I have to wait a very long time to get a hit.
I think that's fair.
I don't know, which can be frustrating if I'm not playing particularly patient that day. But that really, honestly, for me, it kind of like that's sort of the crux of like how I feel I'm doing is like how long does it take me to open them up? Because like if they're playing like very, very patient, but also in a way where they're not like, if they're playing like super quote unquote patient, but like giving up the stage and eventually I can open them up, like that's fine. But if they're playing like very like solid like wall out and holding the center of the stage and like I don't know, like not really like giving me very many chances to get in, I can start to get frustrated because everything else, like I don't know, like obviously my punish game could be better, but I think the punish game on Falcon tends to be fairly intuitive. My DI and defensive game could be better, but like I don't know, sometimes I just kind of accept that I'm gonna get blown up, but like maybe you can point out the situations where like I
Sure.
could have done something to live.
Well, like, do you get frustrated in the same way in friendlies if someone's playing that well?
Um,
Or do people just not do that versus
I think I think they tend to play less patient in friendlies, but also I get less frustrated in friendlies.
you? Okay.
I think like both are true.
Sure.
I guess yeah,
So, I mean, if people are playing differently, that goes back to what we talked about earlier.
exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, because it's like, well, you don't have as much practice versus it, so you're not going to perform as well versus it. But then doesn't that make sense why you'd be more frustrated? Because you're like, well, I'm not performing as well as I think I should be, or I just don't have solutions immediately available, or like my intuitive gameplay is not providing solutions for me.
Yeah, often it's both, which is like double the frustration, which can be rough.
Yeah. But then hopefully you see why, like, that actually makes total sense.
Yeah, I actually like. I think knowing that, I think will help ease the frustration in tournament because you're thinking like I think a lot of the time when you don't know why something, at least like this isn't like very in depth but like in tournament like at least like I can think like oh like this guy might just be playing differently or like I haven't seen this like or haven't like thought as much about this situation and then that will help me like be like I don't know less I don't know frustrated about it. I think having at least some idea of why something is happening makes it easier to I don't know to process.
Yeah, for sure. Um, but yeah, I think that's a big deal because, like, I mean, you might just not have the solutions, right?
Yeah,
Um, and if you're honest with yourself about that, I think that's a big chance to improve because in a tournament match, if you care about winning, you can try your best to, adapt. If it is as slow paced as you're saying and you really don't have solutions, you'll have time to figure it out, right? And then if you
yeah,
don't really
exactly.
care about that, you care more about like just executing your game plan to the best of your ability. You do everything you're capable of without really thinking too much about changing anything. And then you go back and think about it later, you watch the VODs and you go, okay, this is the limit of my current game plan. Let me see what I need to change, which is generally what I think people should be doing.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, yeah, so those are my thoughts on that. Also, I mean, it is kind of hard to hit anyone who doesn't want to be hit if you're playing Sheik.
Yeah,
That's kind of like the challenge of the character is how do you get near people safely and then hit them.
yeah.
Um,
I think I don't know. Sometimes it feels like to me that Falcon also has that problem against Sheik. So a lot of the time it just feels like we're both
yeah,
not really hitting each other,
I
and that's
agree. I think that's pretty normal in the matchup, honestly.
yeah,
But obviously, the better you get, the less you have to feel that way because you'll be able to outplay people better.
yeah, exactly.
So let's figure this out. Um, can you see the match?
Yep.
Hmm. Well, so from the beginning, I'd say you made lots of mistakes. Um, so let's see this. So immediately, one of the first things you did wrong was you crouched and then just got up and let him nair you. But I feel like if you just stayed crouching, there's no way Falcon's nair would have possibly hit you.
Yeah, yeah,
So you somehow ran up and crouched and then tried to move. And then also you didn't DI the nair very well because you just got nair grabbed. You probably didn't DI it that well because it reversed you.
yeah,
But that's still important. Um, and then you tried to CC grab, but I think you were slow on the CC grab. I mean, it's hard to be perfect, and I don't think you were that slow. But, like, if you're going to force something like a CC grab, you have to be, like, pretty perfect.
right.
And you can see your shield came up when you went for it.
Yeah,
And then here, you shield DI'd in, so the gentleman went behind you.
yeah. And then I didn't know, or I didn't like recognize that, and I still tried to grab him.
Yeah, which isn't bad, but just, like, be aware, like, you can't always shield DI in. I mean, shield DI in is generally good, so it's hard to be aware. But, like, all these things happened, right? And I wouldn't be surprised if, this Falcon player, like, from looking at this corner interaction, I'd say he played a lot closer to you than I would expect most people to play in these interactions.
Yeah, he likes to do that.
He's playing really, really close, which I find very strange. Like, just looking at it from watch it just from his perspective. Look at how he's spacing these aerials. Like, look at that knee to back air, especially. Like,
Yeah,
he didn't give a fuck. He just, like, stayed directly in front of you.
yeah,
Look at the knee to
right.
bear right here. Like, he drifted into you. So, like, I wouldn't be surprised if that's just, like, that's just just to talk about the tournament thing more. Like, that's probably not a spacing. I certainly wouldn't have a lot of experience fighting someone at that exact spacing.
Yeah, he generally plays like that. I
Tr-
think. Yeah,
But do you see what I mean?
yeah, no, definitely, it's yeah,
And like, you might have a small habit of shield DIing in, and maybe 99% of the time that's fine versus Falcon. But maybe at this spacing it's not fine.
right.
And that really makes a difference because versus most Falcons you would have already grabbed them. And instead you took a lot of damage and didn't really get anywhere.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then you like got stuck when he was on the platform and you were just like kind of standing there, and that was really bad right here.
Yeah.
And then here you went for CC down tilt, which isn't that good. Then you had a bunch of jabs and your mistech punishes, which I think is pretty mediocre.
Yeah, for sure.
It worked out because you read his roll after, but let's see what happens next. The way you tried to play this was pretty good. You looked like a pretty typical good sheik, but then it looked like the up close interaction you were a lot less comfortable. Like you shielded after the up tilt, which I don't think you should have. I understand why you did. You were like, this probably isn't gonna work. But then you also like full hopped afterwards, and then like waveland back into shield, which I thought is weird because like if you're gonna waveland back, I don't see the point of holding your shield.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. No.
And then you like rolled into him and then put your shield up again. So like I feel like you just don't look very comfortable up close to Falcon is one of my biggest observations.
Yeah.
But like up close to him is like, I mean, you were talking about having trouble hitting him, but like the whole point is that you want to get close to him.
Yeah.
Like
definitely.
as Sheik, one of your strongest skills should be playing close to your opponent.
I think this guy in particular makes me uncomfortable close up because he's just like he's pressing so many buttons and I have no idea what he's gonna do.
Yeah, but you should just react.
Yeah.
And play well. I mean, we can talk about it if you want, but like one of the easiest examples would be there's no point in shielding after a point blank waveland back, right?
Right. Yeah.
Because like, what could he possibly hit you with here? Literally nothing. Even if he jumps, you have time to see him jump before you shield.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Then I think you get this boost grab, and then you miss your tech chase.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you're dead. You definitely play slow in platform related interactions though. You did it earlier on the left side, you do it again over here. So like after this nair, you like waited a really long time before shield dropping, but I feel like you had plenty of good chances to move out of shield. Cause like let's see what he does. He like rolled and then ran off the platform, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like if I were playing and I saw that roll, that would be a cue for me to be like, okay, I'm gonna do something now. Like I don't have to wait any longer.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Yep. Nice. I think you should have stayed closer to him. Again, this has to do with platforms, so I think in general I could say safely that you're not very good at fighting Falcons in platform-related interactions.
Yeah.
So when he's up here and you're down here, like this is great. He can't really do that much anymore. In fact, I would say you want to stay right about here, maybe a tiny bit closer.
Okay.
And just play that zone. And if you back off a little bit before coming back in to set up a certain spacing, that's fine. But you put yourself way out here, and it's like you gave up, a pretty big advantage, I'd say.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Like, I don't know what he's going to do off the platform that I can't. Like, I don't know. It doesn't seem like a very good spot for him.
Yeah, and I mean, you might not win it every time, but I think you should at least be comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, you somehow ended up above the platform, got up aired twice, but I kind of feel like... Yeah, I don't know. There's no reason to really be there, I feel like. It was a pretty quick reaction by him. Like, I don't think most players would have up aired you for that. Yeah, that was actually really quick by him. But also, like, you were up there before he was. You were up there, and he had time to instant double jump, waveland, and then shield drop up air. So I feel like you probably shouldn't have been there, first of all. And second of all, you didn't react to him jumping, in any capacity.
Yeah.
I would say it was a pretty confusing situation. both because of how he plays, but also because, like, you're just not reacting to what he's doing in the first place. Like, you could be like, oh, he's crazy, but you could also be like, he's stupid. Like, look where he's stomping. Like, if that were Mewtwo King, he would have just been up beast stalling, and then he would have fucking poofed him and killed him.
Right.
Or, like, I would have been watching him and then just, like, ledge hop fared him at this point. So, like, the only reason this even happened is because you weren't watching well enough in the first place. So it's like, yeah, he reacts faster than you do to weird things happening, but, like, these things shouldn't be happening.
That makes sense.
Because, like, I would never do this ledge option, just ever.
Yeah.
Like, I would be ledge stalling or fairing or ledge dashing. Like, any standardized option would have dealt with this fine. So I feel like that more so just exposes that, like, you're like, oh, who does that? And it's like, no, that doesn't matter. It's just like, why aren't your options better?
Okay.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, and then I think on the right side, you shouldn't have got up aired. I think it was after a needle. You might have got shield poked, though, which is one thing I feel happens very often on Battlefield.
Yeah.
So I think you need to light shield on Battlefield more than any other stage versus Falcon. It's like the perfect platform height to get shield poked.
Yeah, he up aired me through my shield so many times already in these 2 stocks.
Yep. So then here, this is good. This is fine. So you go for CC down tilt again. That should probably be CC F tilt. It's a lot stronger, so it'll pop them up better.
Okay.
CC down tilt just is generally not very good unless someone's at really high percent. And then he did a really weird full hop, and I think he just reacted slow to it. He might have even messed up. I don't know if he meant to do that full hop. No, he meant to. It was a double jump. Okay, I see.
Yeah, I remember this when I played against Johnny at Big House. He started doing that a lot, like later in the set. I remember this distinctly because it ended up going to like game 3, and he changed the way he played completely and started just like spamming that like full hop double jump mix up, and then he destroyed me. And like the other games were close, and then like he obliterated me the last game.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe you need to watch some VODs where people do that, or you need to think about it more.
Okay.
I'd say the way this person did it was very bizarre. I don't know anyone who does instant double jump into rising stomp. But at the same time, there's a reason nobody does that.
Right.
That's kind of like the stomp into the corner. Like, this guy's crazy, but not necessarily in a good way. He's crazy in a way that would get him absolutely murdered by Plup.
Okay.
Like, he would just get, like, fucking 4-stocked for playing like this. Maybe 3-stocked if, Plup messed up a little bit. Nice. I think you put too much resources into stopping him from going low, but you don't care if Falcon goes low.
True, yeah.
Like the runoff needle beat an option, but it's just kind of like, who cares? Stop him from going high.
Oh, sorry. I think my idea here usually is to cover that with the needle, and then I think I was kind of slow, but if I was faster, I think usually I try to use reverse fair and send them the other way if they drift far in. But
that sounds really hard and not practical.
Okay.
Or it would work some percentage of the time, but not reliably.
Yeah.
Well, on the other, he has no jump right now. So if you just waited on the platform and he up B's high, you full jump and fair him, and then if he goes low, you just run off the platform anyway.
Okay.
So I think I can pretty safely conclude you don't change your fair timing and drift based on where he is in the air very well. I think you try to change it, but only a little bit. So there's the example where he did the double jump above you rising stomp, which was really weird. But watch this one on the left side. This one's more obvious. So I'll put it in half speed or something, because it's so hard to replay on Twitch. So watch this. So you short hop over to him, and then he double jumps, and then you do your fair early to hit him kind of out of the air, if you saw that.
Yeah.
But you should have just fully drifted in and then done it kind of late. But maybe you didn't realize he wasn't going to land on the platform, so maybe this is a jump physics thing. But he had the choice of whether to land on the platform or not. But you don't have to commit your fair early, because let's say he does land on the platform, the absolute worst case scenario is you do a late fair that hits his shield.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So watch this. So I see this, and I would have just still been drifting all the way forward.
I see.
Does this make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And that's not the first time where you've jumped and then not... Like, you've attempted to change what you did on reaction, but it's often in a very weird way, or like a way that doesn't accomplish anything.
Okay.
So I would say that is something I'm consistently noticing. And you got hit for no reason. Let me go back. We're in a very good situation. So this is fine. You back up. Okay, so again, yeah, it's very similar. He jumped, and you didn't change your short hop drift, so his nair whiff punished your bear. But watch this. So he does the hack stash into double jump.
Mm-hmm.
And then you do the bear, I don't know if you saw, but it was like right at the ground, essentially. But if you're familiar with Falcon, like many Falcons do the hack stash into some option, right?
Yeah.
So at this point, I would have seen the hack stash and just not drifted in at all, or I would have like fast fallen and empty landed. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And then I'm sorry, you would have empty landed and then like shielded, or
I probably would have empty landed like outside of whatever aerial range and then just played the next situation.
Got it.
Because essentially the ensuing situation, Falcon doesn't really have any good ways of beating forward tilt, so like that doesn't mean you have to F tilt, but it just means like it's going to be pretty easy to play it out.
Okay.
Like, do you see what I mean?
Yeah, and I definitely could have like drifted away from the nair.
Yeah, or like not fast fallen. You know, you have to change whether you fast fall or not.
Yeah.
Oh, that needle works. I always feel like, especially at the lower percents, this one's kind of okay, but if you end up needling there and he up-Bs really fast, it's hard to grab the edge soon enough and then do a nair. In fact, I don't even think it's possible at lower percent.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So this is an okay edge guard, but I prefer to just drop down lower and double jump fair him when possible, and then if I get up-B'd, I just tech it.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd say maybe at this percent the needle's actually okay, because needles have higher knockback at higher percent, but...
Right. There when he up throws me.
Yeah, you have to DI fully away.
Oh, and I would have gotten away from it?
Yeah, up throw knee doesn't combo on DI full away.
Oh, okay, got it. Like at that percent or at most percent?
At any percent, as far as I know. Or maybe there's a very, very specific range, depending on the ports, where it might combo.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But, like, I don't know what it is. But, like, for the most part, if you DI fully away and then just, like, fast fall out of the hit stun, don't double jump, like, you will never get hit by a knee there.
So is that something where you always DI away from Falcon up throw, or do you...
At that percent, you have to. I'd say at, like, 40 to, like, 70 or so, I might be more willing to DI in so I don't get, like, double up aired off stage.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Even like 80 maybe, but once you go above 80, like the D is generally too strong.
Okay.
But it does depend on the stage, because the longer stages, like let's say it's Dreamland on the left side and you DI behind him and go all the way across Dreamland, like getting knee to 85 is not even a big deal if you DI it well.
Yeah.
I want to point out that you actually adapted your short hop timing very well to him being on the platform, but it actually caused you to mess up your execution. Did you see the bear where you did not hit a good fast fall L cancel?
Yeah, it looked really slow.
Yeah, but that's because I think you realized he was there and tried to like drift in a little further and really get a good back air timing. But like again, your execution is not like fluid at all. It's like it's probably only good if you're doing something exactly how you planned on doing it.
Okay.
Your execution doesn't seem good in situations where you have to like react to what's going on.
Yeah, that seems right.
And yeah, you talked about your defense could be better, but like, yeah, it definitely could be way better. Like, you know, you missed the tech on the, what's it called? The up air.
Right.
You missed that tech too, which, I mean, I feel like there's no real reason to miss the tech.
No, I don't think so.
I guess it actually makes, it actually makes like up throw into like stomp or knee read a little harder maybe, but And then here you should have held down on the next up air. Like, up air should never pop you up on a platform, right?
Never?
Yeah, you can just always hold down.
Do you, and you hold down, like, no arms attack?
Yeah, you just hold down and then you'll slide off.
Okay.
Yeah. There's no weird angles or anything. Just literally hold down on one of the sticks and you will never get popped up by an up air ever again.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's really good. So yeah, in terms of like defense, we didn't talk about it a ton, but I'd say like of the 4 stocks you lost, you definitely could have not died on at least 2 of them.
Yeah.
Possibly 3. I forget. I'd have to see them again. So yeah, let's stop and talk. So what are your thoughts right now?
Yeah, that like stiffness and like poor like I don't know jump short hop like reactions is something I feel like that's like happens all the time in tournament, and I think less often in friendlies, which is frustrating. I don't know, because that's like I feel like so key. The situations just go so differently when you're not being like when I'm not like being reactive in the way I drift and stuff, and that just feels very natural when I'm just playing.
Yeah. So I mean, this quickest solution is to have a more conscious and concrete understanding of more situations.
Yeah.
So like I tried to highlight, if you notice, and I'm sure you did, I tried to highlight exactly what the details of the situation were. I didn't just go, you're bad at it. It's like, okay, so when he's in the air, often related to his double jump, you're not adapting your drift well,
Yeah, that's true.
And like being specific in that way will make it so that next time you play versus Falcon or next time you watch videos, you can pay attention specifically to the situations related to his double jump.
Yeah.
And also it can bring into account, or like you can start taking into account like, okay, so if I short hop in a situation where I know he doesn't have to be on the ground necessarily, I need to be thinking about the possibility of that happening.
Yeah.
Like when you short hop, that needs to already be a factor you're potentially ready for so that you can react to it more quickly and more readily.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily think you're thinking ahead when you short hop.
Yeah. I think that makes sense.
And I think that that's probably the case in friendlies as well, because like you said, it's probably just something you kind of intuitively react to. But like, again, everyone plays differently, situations come up differently, and like, I'm trying to highlight exactly how this one comes up. Now, if you could show me a clip of you being in the exact same spot and reacting exactly the same in a friendly, then it might be a different problem, and I'd be kind of surprised, but I'd be willing to bet for most people that like, if they had a very specific tournament problem, they would not be able to show an exactly identical friendly situation where they executed it well.
I see.
Unless it was simply a misexecution that happened to occur,
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, but if it's like a more fundamental issue with like how you're reacting, almost definitely there's something different about it.
Okay.
Now, of course, there's something to be said for the fact that, maybe in a friendly, if something was slightly different, you'd be able to react to it better than in tournament. But it's like, sure, but like, just solve the problem by understanding what's going on instead of being like, oh, well, I'm better at reacting to things I'm not expecting in friendlies. It's like, yeah, but in tournament, you're using all your mental energy to perform well, so.
Yeah.
Does this make sense?
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Cool.
I get it.
Wonderful. So yeah, if I had to summarize, I'd say close range interactions look uncomfortable. Oftentimes your standard options are not really great. So like, for example, ledge game or jab resets in spots that aren't that great. And it's like, you can do what you want with it, but it's like, realize that that's part of what results in weird things happening.
Yeah.
Even jab reset situations, right? Like, sure, you read his roll, but what if one day you fought someone who DI'd up and then raptor boosted, and then you've never had practice for someone who did that, so you didn't shield on reaction when you could have, and then you get raptor boost need and lose your stock.
Yeah.
That's just one example, but I'm just saying, like, the less clean the things you do are, the more susceptible you are to someone doing something that throws you off.
Okay, that makes sense.
So yeah, I would say you need to be cleaner, both ledge, tech chases, other things. You need to hold down when you're getting up aired on platforms. You need to react faster to platform-related situations. Generally speaking, you will not be at a significant disadvantage in any platform-related situation versus Falcon, so you just need to react appropriately. I said the close range interactions thing, and then yeah, there's something to do with Falcon double jumping, especially kind of near you. that you are not really reacting to very well.
Yeah.
Cool. I say that's a... oh, yeah, and don't CC down tilt. CC down tilt kind of sucks till higher percent.
Okay.
Yeah. Always CC F tilt or CC grab. I think because you missed the CC grab, I wouldn't be surprised if that had some effect on you switching.
Yeah.
But you just need to understand better when you can and can't CC. When I fight Falcon, I generally don't force a true CC grab situation. It's more usually situations where it's I'm already point blank next to him, and then anything he does I CC, or it's something like I try to F tilt him out of the air, and then even if he nairs me, I F tilt him in between the hits or something.
I'm sorry, you try to F tilt him out of the air.
And then if he hits me, I CC it and F tilt again. Because you can CC F tilt in between the hits of nair.
What where are you holding? Are you holding the stick kind of down and forward, or
or you go forward tilt and then switch to down. It depends on your controller a little bit. Some controllers you can just hold the notch. Other controllers you can't.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah. Is that not a tech you're familiar with already?
No, not really.
Oh shit, that's really huge. I thought at this point it would be standardized enough that just people would know, but look at this. I will show you a very funny set. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Look at the beginning of this match. Do you see what Ice is doing?
Yeah, he's getting... What the heck?
So he's forward tilting, and then ASDIing down, or attempting to. And then here he does it again. So see, he's already ASDI down, and then he's going to run up and grab him. Do you see what I'm talking about?
That's crazy.
Yeah. So if Falcon's first hit of nair beats your forward tilt, you just F tilt again, and then it will hit him before the second hit comes out.
Is he mashing it or just timing it?
You should time it because you can press A once and then see that you can see Falcon jump in nair, and you should know the timing for the second hit.
Got it. Wow, that is crazy.
Yeah, that's actually extremely standard at high level. Facial does it, Plup does it, I do it, Swedish does it. So if you haven't seen this before, to me that probably means you haven't watched enough Sheik Falcon VODs.
Got it. I was gonna say there's controllers where you can literally just hold
the down forward notch. Yeah.
Wow.
I would actually say most controllers are like that. It's actually more rare for the controller not to be that way.
That is so huge. So is that I imagine that's got to be valuable in other situations.
Yeah, every single F tilt you ever do, you should be ASDIing down.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe Marth down tilt or something.
Yeah, or Fox Nair.
Yeah.
Falco AC Bear.
Wow, game changer.
Yeah, and it can be tricky because sometimes you're F tilt first one thing, but you get hit almost the instant you F tilt. So you have to F tilt again immediately. So sometimes it's practically pressing it twice, but other times it's F tilt, you have to wait a quarter second and then do your next input.
Well, wow.
It's definitely not something you want to mash. Otherwise, you'll just get execution tested by Fox Nair Shine and other stuff. It is a literal execution thing you have to learn and practice.
Well, cool. Yeah, I will definitely practice that. That's awesome.
So, and if you watch the rest of this game, every time they're in neutral, all Ice does is do that F tilt. So watch, he's going to do it again. See? And then he ASDI down and nared out a shield. But you know what he should have done if he was really just going to do it? He could have just F tilted again, and then he would have gotten hit in the startup, and he would have been holding down forward, and then he would have F tilted right here.
Percent-wise, how long does this work? Just for as long?
I mean, forever versus single hit nair from Falcon, but...
That is so crazy.
Yeah, it doesn't work forever versus everything, obviously.
Right.
You're just going to keep F tilting. Ice only F tilts. I guess he does some jumping. See, he just walked under that F tilt because he was trying to F tilt and then just held forward. That's literally all he does the whole set. And SJ is what the fuck? Oh, it happened again. See, he SJ down.
This is so funny.
Yeah, we're not getting the one where you get hit and then what's it called? Do it in between the hits, but that happens all the time. When I fight lower level Falcons, this is just
Yeah, Gatsu. I think Gatsu told me about the one in between the hit once because I was doing it by mistake against him. He's like, "Do you realize like you're doing that?" And I was like, "Oh no." And he's like, "Yeah, that's like something like you just
Yeah,
ASA
it's
down."
definitely a thing that you should be
Yeah.
doing. So yeah, like most situations where I'm doing CC versus anyone really, I'm rarely forcing like, from far away, full stage run in CC and like force it to happen. It can work, like that one CC grab you missed, you probably could have gotten. But like the more forced it is, the more perfect you have to be on the grab because generally you won't be like at the ideal spacing. And like they'll have more time to change their drift or which attack they use and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not a huge fan of just like raw forcing it. But like if you watch Spark play, like watch him fight SDJ at DreamHack Atlanta, and he just like ran around crouching the whole time, and like he missed a lot, but he also actually hit a lot, and like overall it definitely worked out for him.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I get that vibe when I watch Spark play sometimes. He's just in love with Crouch, but I don't know. I always felt like Crouch, for me, it's like something that's like kind of more of a mix-up. Like,
yeah, I mean, he's definitely kind of spams it, but like, I don't know. Sometimes he really makes it work. And like I said, how well you make it work is largely related to how good your CC timings are and how good your reactions are. And also how predictable the opponent is. So like here, watch, SJ just fastball up air, and he actually lands behind Spark.
Oh, yeah.
So if Spark had just grabbed in place, he would have totally gotten SJ, but Spark thought he had to dash.
I see.
Because, like, he thought, it would be ambiguous or whatever. I'd say versus Falcon, up air, you would literally never have to dash at this percent, because it doesn't matter which side he landed on, it's too weak to do anything.
Yeah.
But, like, also because of the angle it hits at. But let's say it's a Marth fair, like a Fox back air, they can definitely space it, even at 0, to where, like, you would have to dash.
For sure, yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does.
But, like, Spark, if Spark had more awareness there, that actually would have worked perfectly.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, you can definitely just make it happen, but it's somewhat up to your execution.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, look here. He's like, okay, SJ's on a platform. I'll just crouch. You run this way. I'll go hit you. I mean, I don't think that was a great dash attack. I would have boost grabbed it if I was going to go for it.
Mm-hmm.
But, or I just wouldn't have gone for it. I would have played, like, a mix-up after I ran up to him. Yeah, see? Look at the crouch. This is against SJ, one of the best Falcons. And it's like, yep. Like, where's he going to go? And then he's going to crouch tech chase him. Yeah. See if there's anything else. See, again, he just, like, crouches and, like, SJ literally can't hit him. I think Falcons have gotten better at shield drop knee, for what it's worth, but that's so slow you can hit him out of it.
And I'm thinking, like, so if you're spamming crouch the whole time against Falcon, right, they're going to start stomping a lot, but, like, can you just, like, you can probably usually just react and, like, shield that, right?
Yeah, you can always shield stomp on reaction. What he should be doing is using, like, you can do, like, max spaced back air at higher percents, which is what, like, Wizzy would try to do, but what you could really do is just mix in empty lands and grabs as Falcon.
Yeah.
Like, Falcon can jump so many different ways that it's really ambiguous, so, like, if I were Falcon, I would, like, dash up, jump, and then fast fall in place right outside of Sheik's F-tilt range, and then, like, see if she does anything. And then if she does anything, I grab her. And then if she doesn't, play whatever mix-up after.
That sounds pretty hard. So it seems like the strategy from Spark is, like, pretty good if you're forcing him to play in such a, like, specific and, like...
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's hard. And, I mean, here, he's at, like, what, fucking 70 or something, so, like, obviously it's not going to work.
He's still just doing it.
Yeah, he's just doing it.
Spark's so funny. I love Spark.
Spark is absurd. He's like not a real human being. It's insane. He's so funny, but like it's actually crazy.
This is definitely that like whole like that fiction tweet about your personality being the way you play.
Yeah. This is Spark.
Yeah.
And then like people play him and they're like, oh look, he got a CC on a weak knee. So Johnny tried to early flying knee because if you early knee, it'll actually trade with a lot of Sheik stuff. Like, I've seen early knee trade with F-tilt. I've seen early knee trade with, what's it called? Like, aerials. But because it was early knee, Spark just crouched and then got the punish.
Yeah. Wow.
I actually don't know how he did that because it looks like he stood up. Oh, it was just like, I guess the crouch from his wave dash. Yeah, so he's wave dashing, so Sheik goes low, and then even though Sheik stands up, he's already dodged the knee part, or the strong
totally
knee.
Looks like he should eat a hard knee, like, to the face. Like,
nope, because the strong knee is here. It would have been a strong knee if it was a late knee, just not an early knee.
I see. Because it's early, yeah.
Yep.
That makes sense.
And then Spark gets that, and Johnny's like, why the fuck am I getting CC punished at 132? And it's like, yeah. So, I mean, I won't say you shouldn't spam crouch, but you should definitely understand how it works. Because, like, what happens to Spark is either he messes up the execution, or he tries to do it in situations where it's more of a mix-up and less guaranteed, but he tries to execute it as if it's guaranteed. So if he at least played the mix-up, it would go better, but he doesn't because he doesn't know. And then sometimes they just play around it, and he just takes, like, 50 free damage.
That's a quick question I have, too. Like, so, like, what is the mix-up? I guess for me, a more common, I don't do this as much against Falcon, but, like, against Marth, like, if you CC the fair, like, what is
It depends what range. If you're close enough, you can always punish it with F-tilt. But a lot of the times it pushes you back too far. So, like, CC and ASDI will get pushed back different distances because CC actually has knockback reduction.
Okay.
So, like, you have to know based on the percent, based on how far he is, based on how he's drifting, and based on, like, whether you're CCing or ASDIing down, whether or not it will be in range for a true punish, and you have to time it correctly.
Okay, right.
And those variables can all change, obviously, so. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then you, like, can't true CC versus Marth weak fair at low percent because of Sakurai angle. But generally, you don't need to true CC versus Marth because if he's doing his aerials early, you can just ASDI down and punish them. But if he's doing them late, you often can F-tilt him before he gets his late aerial out.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, if Marth jumps at me, I just F-tilt, and then even if he hits me early, I ASDI down. If he doesn't fair, then I F-tilt him. But if Marths are really good at spacing, they won't let me get into the range where I can even do that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But if a Marth isn't perfect at spacing, or if I'm really good at tricking them, even versus a Marth that is, I can get close enough that when they jump, it doesn't matter what they do, I'll F-tilt them.
Okay.
But you have to also not get early Nair, because Nair knocks over on ASDI down at like 10% or something absurdly low.
Okay, yeah.
So, like, that's why there's just a lot of nuance related to it, and I think nobody really understands it fully when they play, which is why some people that are like, oh, CC's too strong, it's broken, it's brain dead, and other people are like, why are you spamming CC, it's so cheesy, blah, 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 and it's like, there's actually a lot going on there, but most people are really bad at it.
Got it, yeah. Makes sense.
Cool. Okay, so yeah, my biggest thing I'll tell you, though, is you should probably watch a lot more Sheik Falcon footage.
Okay.
And maybe more matchups in general, I don't know what you do, but like, just from talking to you and watching you, seems like you have a lot of good ideas, but there's just a lot of stuff you haven't thought about or aren't familiar with.
Okay, yeah. I'll watch some more. Any Sheik actually, wait, I just watched Plop, right?
I wouldn't just watch Plop. Plop does lots of very good things and lots of very bad things, and, a lot of it works because, in Sheik Falcon, the risk reward's pretty in your favor a lot of the times. Plop also generally has more experience than his opponent in the matchup. Because he's played Wizzy for so long.
Okay.
So, I would definitely watch Plop. But I wouldn't only watch Plop.
And, like, some of your old VODs, I know there's that one tournament where you played versus, like, Nun and Wizzy and stuff.
Yeah, and I also have more recent VODs that are probably good, but they're, like, maybe harder to find or friendlies. But if you just ask me, like, message me, be like, hey, do you have anything? I'll send you it.
Okay.
And, like, Spark does good things. Like, you saw, like, everything Spark's doing here, like, Plup would not be doing. But I'd say a lot of it was really good.
Okay.
A lot of it was also really bad, Face roll, like, 10 stock Nun in, like, 6 minutes or something in a 3 out of 5 at this tournament.
Oh, yeah. I gotta watch more face roll stuff. I feel like face roll, like, when I watch face roll, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's what I want my Sheik to look like.
Yeah, face roll's good. Swedish is really good, obviously. Also, watch different skill levels. I've always said this, but don't just watch Plup versus Wizrobe. The peak of Falcon Sheik at the moment. Watch Plup versus a Pools Falcon. Because, like, you need to see different styles and how they beat them. Because, like, you won't understand what Plup's doing versus Wizzy would also 3-stock J-Cubes if you don't watch him fight someone of J-Cubes' level,
Sure, yeah.
So,
Makes sense to me.
Okay, awesome. Well, good talk then. Let me know if you have questions.
Yeah.
For sure.
Thanks again.
Yeah, and stay in touch, dude.
Yeah, will do. Thanks.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye bye.